These are your instructions on how to create an electrical plan in using Autodesk Revit. And I'm just going to go over just a small section of the house instead of doing the entire thing. But the file you're going to download is going to be Residence MX2 electrical plan. And the same design that you did your electrical sketch on, you're going to utilize that in order to create your electrical plan. So we're going to just do a couple of sections of this just to show you how the tools are loaded and so forth. Um, on this particular file, I've already downloaded many of the components and such as lighting fixtures. Many of those are the main ones that I think that you'll need are already downloaded. If you need something different, you have to load the family for it. So you have to load family, go into electrical, architectural, electrical power, and terminals. And that'll give you the switches and the outlets. And in order to find lighting, same place, but it has its own category. I'm sorry, low family. And you have to go into lighting. Architectural. Depending upon which one you're doing, if you're an internal or external. I didn't load any external lights, so let's just say I need an external light. Let's see, I'm not going to need a bollard or street light or a wall pack light. Those may just be a little bit too much, too commercial for this residential design, so we're not going to use those particular ones. So we'll just do internal. And it gives us a variety of different ones. So I've chosen, I think I've chosen the Troffolite and a canister light and a downlight round. I think those are only three that I chose. If there's others you want to use, you can, but you have to remember that some of the ones that you choose, the symbols may be extremely small and you won't be able to see them. So you have to consider that once you're loading some of those in. So on electrical, you won't need any table lamps or anything like that because that is not something that we put on an electrical plan. But the ones at the bottom, such as the tropholites, you can load those. But one of those are already loaded. So I'll just choose one just so you can see what it looks like. So we'll do open. Okay, so on this level, you don't see anything. And the reason for that is because you're on level 1 instead of the ceiling level. In order to put in any fixtures in the ceiling, you have to go to ceiling level 1 in order to do so. So on that particular troffolite that I just chose, so I want to put one here in the kitchen. So I can put one there in the kitchen. I go to level 1 and then use a camera view to kind of show you what it looks like. And you can kind of see it. You can see there's the light fixture I just put in. And this is a good way to gauge whether or not you have sufficient enough lighting inside of an area. So you don't necessarily have to fill the area up with all like 2,000 lights. Sometimes one smaller light or two smaller lights or one large light will suffice for that space. We'll show it shaded so you can look at it. All right. I have a gap here, but we won't worry about that for right now. Okay, so now the cool thing is that sometimes you can actually put some of these electrical components in 3D. I just don't always trust doing that because you can't always see where they go. So as you see in 3D, they're all grayed out. So it doesn't really give you an option. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it's not giving us an option in order to put these in a 3D view. All right, so I've given you a level to actually do this on. I've already changed it to the electrical layer, well, electrical level. Uh, and it has had two different options for it, whether or not I wanted to show this as a different mode. So the discipline was architectural, what it should have been electrical. And then I did apply. And when you switch it over to electrical, then it ensures that you're gonna be able to place your components in the way you're supposed to. All right, so the next thing we have to really change is our view range. If I can find it. Sometimes you can be looking for something and looking too hard. Well, that may help. Let me click off to the side. All right, so here we are. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, here we are. Edit. Okay, I'm going to change this view range up to 8. And the reason for that is because once I put my lights in on this electrical layer, I want them to be able to show up. So right now I'm not seeing my troffer light that I put in on that particular layer. So it might be something I might have to bump up the number a little bit more. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong space. Oh no, it's in the kitchen, so I should be able to see it. So we need to check our view range. All right, so it says offset on level 2 is 0. So that's not the one I'm looking for to set. I'm really looking for the electrical layer. So that might be the one I have to set it on. Did this easily when I was practicing this earlier. And of course, now that I need to show you how to do it, so you can never find anything or it acts right. All right, so let me see. Let's try 9. See will that work. There we go. So the 9 feet seem to have worked better instead of the 8 feet. So that troffer light that I put in is in place. So I can actually see stuff that's in the ceiling and also on the design at the same time. So there are a few tags in here that don't belong, and it's because some of them came over from the presentation layer, but some of the spaces aren't tagged. So if you need to tag them, just click on room. Oh, I'm sorry. Tag room. And the reason for that, don't click on room because they're already tagged. So you don't want to retag them. You'll just get an error. All right, and since we are not putting light switches and so forth inside of closets, those are not really that big of a deal. All right, so our next thing is that we're going to, we're already 10 minutes in. All right, so we're going to put in outlets and switches and so forth. So I'm gonna show you quickly how to do that. And instead of me doing it on every single room, you'll just follow your design on how you were doing it in order to do so. All right, so this panel is usually docked up here. It's usually docked on the systems. And if it's docked, you can drag it out and it'll collapse the system a little bit. And I'm sure you might want to place it somewhere, someplace that's not really in the way, but you can actually do a quick access to get to it. So don't really use this green bar too much. This might be a good place for it. All right, so you have your lighting fixtures, you have your devices, and your wiring. These are only three components out of this group that I've used. I don't need anything else. I don't need a cable tray. I don't need conduit, parallel conduits, and none of that other stuff. So it's only really just those three. And underneath those devices, you have your electrical fixture, your lighting, and telephone and stuff like that. But I didn't put any of that stuff in on my practice. I didn't think it was probably necessary. If you want to put in a telephone outlet, you can. So you have to load it in order to do so. And that one, I'm not sure which folder it's in. I'm going to suggest or think that it's probably in electrical or either in MEP. So I'm not really sure what that particular one is, but I'm pretty sure it's in here. But it's not one that I used on mine. No, it might be on the communications. No, that's a terminal. Um, television wall speaker. Oh, there we go. Telephone outlet. And it's probably a triangular shape like we've done before or used before. And depending upon the detail level of this, depends on how these symbols will look. So we don't want it to be on fine. We want it to be on either coarse or medium. If you put it on fine, the problem with putting it on fine is that it will look just like it's supposed to if you were looking at it as a 3D view or in person. And we don't want it to look like that because this is utilizing more symbols than it is anything else. So that will put that, we'll just drop that right there. All right, so now for the outlets and switches and so forth, we're going to do device, electrical fixtures. And by default, it pretty much does switch single. When you get ready to do a three-way switch, you can choose a three-way switch from the group. When you choose it, it gets a little tricky when you choose some of these things. They'll have a gray bar above something, and then the actual switch itself will be below it. And switch three-way is no different. It says switch three-way, and I kept clicking on that. I was like, well, I want to go in, but actually, you click on that one instead, and you touch the wall, and you go through, and you put your switches in place. I think I'm gonna put this one here on this wall instead. All right, so I personally would go in order and go through and put all of my fixtures first in place. If you put these too close together, it will cause a bit of a calamity. So you gotta space them a little bit. Even though they're going to be in the same panel, you still have to kind of space them out and try not to mix the symbols up. right, so now let's say, for instance, that you put something in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a three-way switch, but we're going to say that this is going to be a three-way switch, and we're going to be able to turn this on from over here at the door. Let me just move it a little bit this way. And then I'm going to use another one here for outside. But let's say, for instance, you put a switch there. And we're going to switch this particular light from here at the door, at this door, and be able to turn it on from coming in this side door. Which technically we should have it on another spot too. I don't know if we have a four-way switch in here. I don't think we do. We would need a four-way switch if we're going to put another one here. But we'll just go ahead and move on. All right, so we'll do a wire. And the wiring, you're going to click once midway between to get the bend and touch it. And then you'll touch it and bend and go to the other switch. So that's how you're going to do your wiring. So you have to give it a little, it's basically a 3-point arc. So, and it's adjustable. If you want to bend it more to make it a little bit more appeasing looking, you can. All right, so now if you've got a couple of these three-way switches next to each other, you don't necessarily have to go back to the library to choose any of this stuff. You can always copy it. And that's for any of these switches. So you don't necessarily have to keep running back to the library to choose stuff. And even for this light here, I can copy it. I'll just put it here for a moment. I'm gonna move it down in between here. And because I don't need such a large light there, I can hit the drop down and choose a different kind of light. So I think I'm gonna use this ceiling down light, 60 watts, and I'm just gonna change it. So that means that my second three-way switch, I will use a wire. Bend it up to that one. Bend it up to that one to turn that on. So you're going to have to try to make some room for it in order to get some stuff in. Sometimes it's going to be 3 or 4 switches next to each other, and they're going to be spread out. That doesn't mean that they're going to be spread out down the wall. It just means that they're going to be in the same panel switch. All right, now for outlets, same thing. We'll do a fixture. And we'll do an outlet. Well, let's just say we're going to do a GFI. And because they have to be next to a water source. All right. Now, technically, these things, they're supposed to go in at the right elevation. So this one's going in at 3'9" because it knows it's a GFI. So it should actually go in at the right level, but sometimes they don't. So you have to make sure you watch the elevation number. The normal outlets, let's say I'm going to put an outlet, it's a regular outlet. Well, let's say I'm going to do the range outlet. See, it has a different elevation to it. So it's 9 3/4 inches from the floor. And I'm not sure if there's a particular one for a refrigerator, but sometimes there is. But you can always change the elevation on. So this is going to be sitting at 9 3/4 also. But since it's a refrigerator outlet, it normally sits a little bit higher. So it normally sits at about 3 feet elevation. I think I put in 6. So it sits a little bit off the floor. And you can also do the same thing with your cabinet, with your outlets in your for your cabinets. They normally sit about the same height as just GFI. So 3'9" and 3/4, so you can do 3'10", or roughly about, what is that, 46 inches. So about 46 inches. So if you choose an outlet, let it escape first. All right, choose device again. All right. So since this is going to be sitting above countertop, you definitely want to put them up at least right above the countertop. I'm going to go with 46 inches. The number's not changing. Of course, it's not because I want it to change. Right. So I'm going to put one not here, another one right there, and another one right here. All right. So if I take a look at that in 3D. It's probably one of my previous 3D views, probably number 16. Now I take a look around in the kitchen, then I can actually see where I put those. So I see my light, I see all my outlets I put in. And the one behind the refrigerator. All right, so this is basically how you're going to be doing your electrical. So you'll just go room by room. And I suggest going room by room when you do this. It will probably make it a lot easier unless you want to do one component at a time. So if you want to do all light fixtures first, then you go through, put all your light fixtures, then you go through and put all your outlets, then you put all your wiring, and then you'll be done. So for outside lights, since there are no weatherproof fixtures, we just have to label them as that, and we can use a regular fixture for that. So we can just use copy and use this particular one here. All right, so if that doesn't work, that means there may not be a ceiling out there. I'm gonna do that. I think I chose the wrong thing. In order to place it at an angle, not going in a straight line, so hold down the shift key. That'll allow you to kind of copy it. You can kind of arrange them a little bit where they're even or so. So you have equal lighting. All right, so for these, I would have placed, this is a real tight space right here next to this door. I would suggest putting my switches against the wall here because it's not really that far of a walk when you walk in the door to get to the switch. But you might only be able to accomplish getting one switch here. And that's going to be the only one that you'll probably fit in that spot. Realistically, it'll be the only one you can fit in that spot. Whether it was, all right, so when you do two lights, just go in between them, bend it. All right, so we can technically change the wiring to uh, hidden or dash lines, and we can really do that with edit type. But I'm not sure if it'd be worth going through that amount of trouble because it doesn't seem like it's going to be a simple task to do. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be that easy of a task to do. So we're just going to just leave it as a solid. Um, if I see an easier way of doing it, then I'll do it that way. No, we're going 30 minutes. Okay, so that is it. So you'll download this file out of week 5 folder and also get rid of all the extra stuff that you don't need.